In this video, I'm going to show you the most powerful teachings of Neville Goddard. I'm going to simplify them and show you exactly how to apply them in your life. Welcome back to another video. My name's Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the most powerful teachings from Neville Goddard that I've come across and share with you how you can apply those, because when you start to apply what he taught, and he taught this back in the 1930s and 40s and 50s, so a long time ago, it's still relevant today more than ever before. And to me, Neville Goddard's teachings, he was the one that wrote the book, The Power of Awareness, or The Feeling is the Secret. And these books, what they do is they merge the divine with the human experience and help us understand how we can become or realize more of ourselves than we have in the past. And he does so in a way of understanding life and awareness of what reality is in a much deeper level. So if I had to summarize Neville Goddard's teaching into one little phrase, it would be that we become what we imagine ourselves to be. So most people are in the autopilot mind. I've shared a lot of this before when it comes to like Dr. Joe Dispenza or some of the other teachers. And it has to do with understanding that most people are in autopilot. They're doing the same things every day, thinking the same thoughts every day, feeling the same emotions every day. Therefore, they're creating the same experiences over and over and over again. What Neville Goddard talks about is he says that imagination and reality is one of the same thing. It's just that, in a way, reality is crystallized imagination. So if we want to become more than we currently are, what we can do is we can imagine that that's who we are. And our imagination links us up with the infinite intelligence and allows us to then embody that aspect of ourselves, that divine essence of who we are. So if I had to simplify everything, it would be we are what we imagine ourselves to be. And if we want to change ourselves, we must change ourselves and the way we imagine ourselves to be in order to do so. So what I thought I would do now is I have some of the different teachings that I wrote down. I wrote down about 5 of them. I've been reading a lot of Neville Goddard recently as well. I've been finding, it's funny, there's certain people that I'll watch for a while and then I'll go away from it and then I'll come back to it later. Recently I was reading the book Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, who's like also an old school LOA teacher. So there's phases to all of this, is basically what I'm trying to say. And you'll go back sometimes, and Neville Goddard stuff, though, is really good. I first heard about it from actually Wayne Dyer. Dr. Wayne Dyer was talking about how he bought every single one of his kids the book, The Power of Awareness, which honestly, it's kind of reading it is a little bit, it's written in like the older language in a way, like the way we used to talk, I guess, back in the 1930s. But there's a lot of awareness in that book, let me tell you. So, one of the first concepts that I learned from Neville Goddard, and I'll show you exactly how to apply this in your life, is that what you want to do is you want to live from the end. Live from the end. So if you imagine yourself and the perfect version of you and how you would be, what you would be doing, how you would be feeling, and you were able to see what that was like, and you were able to live as that version of you, you would then begin to tap into the vibration of that version of you. And by living in the end, which also means living in the feeling of that version of you, you then begin to experience that in your life. And one thing he says is very powerful that you must do when you do this is, instead of viewing yourself, like if you were to imagine yourself as you're the actor or actress. Not as if you're watching a movie and you're watching yourself in your mind do something. Look at it as the perspective of you are actually there. And this is also talked about in reality transurfing. The slide technique, it's like the same thing. You have to do it through your own eyes. That's what makes it more real. And what you want to do is you want to imagine it like that and then see what you would see. You know, it's a funny thing because this house that I'm in right now, which I only have a couple more months left on my lease before I move and I'll be traveling the world and stuff, filming videos. But when I wanted this house, what I did is I came out and I saw this house. Then I realized that after I saw it, I was like, I want it. And then I realized there was also like 5 people competing for this house. So what I did is I imagined myself as if I was living in this house. I actually imagined myself, I'll show you. This is the master bedroom right here. So what I did is, it's kind of set up similar to the way the owners had it set up. And what I did is I imagined myself meditating in this house. Now, I have a different meditation room right now, but I imagine myself meditating in this master bedroom, here meditating right over there. I imagine myself walking around this house from what I can remember in my memory from seeing the house one time. I didn't imagine it as if I'm looking at myself walking the house. I imagined it as if I am actually walking in the house, walking around, seeing what's like, enjoying the space, enjoying the size house that I have. You know, it's a pretty big house just for me, but I really enjoy it. And I imagine myself in the feeling I would feel of that freedom, because at the time I had roommates and I was really wanting to like have my own place, not have to like I could walk around naked if I want or something like that, you know what I mean? So the first idea is the Neville Goddard teachings. The other thing that you want to do, let me show you what to do. Now I have a meditation for this as well. I will put it in the top of the description box below. Listen to it for 21 days. I think it can change your life. And it's the simple idea of Neville Goddard's teachings that I've applied. So what I did is, as you're laying in bed at night, what you want to do is, as you're drifting off, put your hands over your heart like this, breathe into it. As you close your eyes, imagine the best version of you, what you would be doing, and what you want to do is tap into the feeling of you doing what you want to be doing, and what it would be like to live from the end. So what you do is you tap into the vibrational frequency of that version of you as you're falling asleep. And the reason being is, when you're falling asleep at night, your brainwave patterns are going from an alpha or a beta alpha state into a theta state. The theta state is where your subconscious mind lives. So there's this window when you're going to bed at night to where you can feel the emotions of what you want, and as you fall asleep, you then begin to program your subconscious mind. When you wake up in the morning, same thing. When I woke up this morning, what I did is I woke up, I had my hands over my heart. I also keep a little crystal, a rose quartz crystal, like this little chunk on my heart when I sleep. I know it sounds weird, but that's what I do. And what I did is I wake up in the morning, I imagine the things I want to experience in my life, and I don't get up until I really feel it. Until I really feel it and know that that's a possibility for me. So that's what I do, is I do this every night as I'm going to bed. What I did is I have the meditation in the top of the description box below that will help you in this process as well. And you listen to it for 21 days, you'll see what I mean. It takes a little bit of momentum to get with this, but as you begin to do it, you begin to reprogram yourself. So that's Neville Goddard talks a lot about this too. The Feeling is the Secret book. He talks a lot in his other books and his other lectures. He says when you're going to bed at night, feel the emotion of you experiencing what you want, and in a way close out your senses. So for example, what you want to do is you want to do it and then completely pretend like you're there. Feel it. You have to really feel it. And sometimes what we do as well is we use visualization as like a mode to get us somewhere else. Instead of using visualization as a mode, what I found out is to make visualization an end of itself. Visualize because it's the feeling you prefer, because you want to do it without having the reasoning of I'm doing it in order to get somewhere else or in order to escape the present moment. So that's one of the most powerful Neville Goddard teachings that I know of. There's others that are very, very powerful. One is this: everyone is you pushed out. Everyone is you pushed out. I've been sharing this a lot on my Instagram, a lot on YouTube lately. Everyone is you pushed out. Now what this has to do with is understanding that we're all connected. And because we're all connected, what we put out is what we get back. However, anytime we perceive of somebody that we don't like, or a characteristic in someone else that we don't prefer to experience, the idea is to understand that the only reason they would be reflecting that back to us is because there's something inside of us that hasn't been healed yet. So this means that there's something inside of us that hasn't been healed yet. And what we can begin to do is to see, what aspect could this be? Maybe we're not accepting certain parts of ourselves. Or maybe we're not creating good enough boundaries. For example, you perceive of somebody that is as a negative thinker. They're always talking about negative stuff to you, and you resist it, and you're like, why am I attracting this into my life? Well, one of the reasons could be is because you haven't accepted the negativity within yourself. You haven't allowed it to be there and accepted it. And what you can do is then work on you. Work on you. Work on your own negativity. Accept it. Love it. Integrate it. If you find somebody that's being manipulative towards you, you could ask yourself, why is this in my life? See how you might be manipulating your life. Maybe you're trying to control everything in your life. See how maybe you're trying to manipulate how things go, or maybe even passively, not even knowing it, that you're trying to control other people. There's a certain way you want them to be. But when you understand that everyone is you pushed out, you can change your reality because you can always change yourself. This is the very powerful Neville Goddard teaching, because when you change yourself, you then change your reality, because everything and everyone is you pushed out. So it's very powerful. And it also correlates, I've talked about this recently, with the Ho'oponopono meditation, because that has to do with understanding that the more you heal yourself, the more you heal the world. And you only experience certain things on the outside because there's certain aspects of yourself that maybe not been healed. So the other part I like about everyone is you pushed out is you realize that there really is never any competition. Wait, I used to have this when I used to work at 9-to-5 job at Nordstrom's. I used to think that I was competing with the other people I was around, because if someone had a good customer, you'd be like, oh, I could have got that customer. But in actuality, a game changer for me was I started going into work, and I started to I went from what is called a competitive mind state it goes from competitive to creative, to where there's an infinite abundance, infinite intelligence. And when you have this perspective, you create more and more abundance. But if you view it as scarcity, as, oh, this customer, you have this customer, that means I lost out, then you're then in a vibrational reality where you only perceive what is equal to, and the reality that's equal to that is a reality that says, oh, there's scarcity. So I remember I read a book called The Science of Thinking Rich, or Science of Getting Rich, and it talks about this competitive versus creative mind state, and it changed everything. So in the same way, everyone is you pushed out. It's like there's no competition, because those people are other versions of you, but also you can come at it from a creative, abundant mind state where there's enough to go around regardless. So everyone is you pushed out, I found to be an extraordinarily powerful concept that I've been applying more and more in my life. And think about it too. When you look at a particle, quantum physics shows us that you change the particle by looking at it. When you look at other people, by looking at other people, you're changing them, your version of them. So if you change your version of them by starting to integrate them, accept them for who they are, not manipulate them. You see, this isn't about free will and manipulating other people, because you're not trying to change them. You're trying to change within yourself, knowing that as you change within yourself, your outer reflection begins to change, especially as you change the way you define other people. So you see, this is an idea that's very much a game changer, and really taps into quantum physics, metaphysics as well, which I also think is cool, because Neville Goddard, back in the 1930s, like, this is stuff that quantum physics is now showing, but yeah, he was teaching it back then. Another idea from Neville Goddard is that you are divine. All is divine. All is the I am. I am. Whatever goes after the words I am, you become. You say, I am fat, then you create a reality where you're fat. You will naturally link up to foods that you feel you don't have control over. You will, in the present moment, constantly find evidence of that. If you say, I am wealthy, then you will look around and appreciate the abundance around you, and you will experience more of that. The truth is, though, you are a divine being. You can't be limited, other than the limitations of your own mind, as to what goes after the words I am. I am comes from the energy of this divine spirit. So when you understand that, and you understand that you are divine, you are a piece of the divine, you have so much more power available to you. But when you think you're this little ego, you create from a lot of resistance. So Neville Goddard taught a lot about the power of using I am, and of using the power of I am from the state of awareness that you are divine. You know, the more that I tap into, not just me thinking I'm divine, I know everyone else is divine as well. And because of this realization, I feel more connected to everyone else. It's realizing that everything is the same thing from a different point of view, which also goes with the everyone is you pushed out. But I found this to be very powerful, and I use this as often as I can remember. Meditation helps me tap into this as well, the divine essence of someone. Whenever you're having problems with someone, remember they're also a divine being. They may have forgotten some of their divinity, but the more you become aware of it is the more you can then change yourself and how you relate to you or how you relate to other people, and then it changes your reality as well. So the power of using I am. In most of personal development as well, it's an identity shift. When you shift your identity of the way you see yourself, you then experience a new reality. This isn't about changing even just your thoughts. It's about understanding the I am presence and changing your self-image for the way that you see yourself, transforming and becoming that divine essence. That's the key to this transformation. Not just changing a couple thoughts or a couple, feeling the emotions every now and then. It's changing how you show up in the world, knowing that you are this divine being and that you are who you choose to be, who you declare yourself to be. So, another aspect I want to talk about is that of assumption of the new reality. He talks a lot about assumptions, assuming a new reality. This is one of the most powerful sayings I can remember from Neville Goddard. Assume the wish fulfilled. Assume the wish fulfilled. Assume that you can do, have, or be any way that you want, and that if you simply stay consistent to that assumption, you will eventually get that reality. That's exactly what I did with YouTube. I just assumed that if I made a video a day, I would experience a reality that is equal to that level of action and that level of energy. I did that not needing the outside world to change, because I knew there was an echo of a certain way I've been living. But I assumed it, and part of that assumption was that I stayed consistent to it. So even when I wasn't getting that great results with the first 3-4 weeks before I had a video go viral back in February 2017, I still kept doing it, knowing and trusting in that vision. I assumed that wish was fulfilled. And by doing that from that energy, it eventually became my reality, where 4 or 5 months later, I was able to get rid of my 9-to-5 job, and now I do what I love full time. Assume the wish fulfilled. So this, for me, is, I believe, really in a nutshell, puts all of Neville Goddard's teachings there. Assume the wish fulfilled. Feel the emotion of what you want to create as you're going to bed every single night. Begin to wire that in. And understand that if you assume the wish fulfilled, you can then live from the end. Live from the end. Give yourself permission to also live from the end. Many times people say, well, I need to do this, this, and this, and this before I can do it. No, give yourself permission now to live from the end. I gave myself permission to make videos on YouTube. I said, I am credible enough to give my advice. And because I was credible enough to give my advice and I gave myself permission, I eventually experienced that reality. So in the same way, you can do the same thing. You can give yourself permission to be an artist, to be an athlete, to do what you love. You can love yourself. If you want to change anything on the outside, change the inside. Change the way you relate to you. Everyone is you pushed out. Remember that. And remember that if you want to change anyone outside of you, change and integrate the aspect of what they represent to you on the inside, and you'll eventually change your version of them. It's not breaking free will, because you're only working on you. Understand that you can feel the emotions as you're going to bed at night, and as you do, you'll begin to transform your life and reprogram your mind in a very powerful way. So if you want, listen to that meditation for 21 days. I think it will change your life. You can read the comments to see what's possible. I'll go ahead and link it in the top of the description box below. Also, you will only see, I'll be doing a lot more videos like this where I'm walking around sharing these ideas. If you want more videos like this, hit the notification bell, because YouTube will now only show you videos if you have the notification bell on. Otherwise, you won't see the daily videos. So go and click that, and I will be coming out with new videos like this. Other than that, as always, peace, much love, and namaste.